Welcome back, everyone, to the LEC studio where we are counting down towards Fnatic versus Vitality. Fnatic got second place in spring, but right now they're looking like a shadow of their former self. So I want to open up the floor in this discussion with my analysts to talk a little bit more in depth about what is going on with Fnatic and if they can pull it together and make playoffs. You also have a say because here in the LEC, we care about you. You can spam now in chat. Can Fnatic pull it together and make playoffs? Yes or no? So let me open the floor to first the general thoughts about Fnatic, because it is hard to say after that game yesterday. I mean, they won versus Misfits, but it was one hell of a comeback.
And it wasn't just that game. If you kind of go back in the last, I'm going to say 3 weeks that Fnatic have played, you think about their game versus SK, it was like a miracle stun or snag on Crown Shot when he walked too close up to a tower that they managed to swing it around. It's been very strange drafts with the Graves and the Sorakas, and it just feels really all over the board for Fnatic. And while I do think that it is true that there are bright spots, Selfmade is performing really well, Rekkles is still really solid, the other 3 members, inconsistent, the teamwork isn't there. And for me, it's still kind of a philosophy issue. I look at their champion pool and all I see is them really prioritizing jungle. Makes sense, Selfmade performs, but maybe they need to give more attention elsewhere on the map to maybe get some confidence back for their other 3 members.
Yeah, and I just think this is a team obviously full of incredible individual players, as you mentioned, and it feels so strange to see them so consistently focus on a single player in Selfmade, to consistently set him up, to consistently invest in him, and we just haven't seen that same level of investment in other players on the team yet this season. So I would like to see more experimentation. Selfmade doesn't always need a carry. You know, put him on a Jarvan game one time. Put him on a Volibear game one time. Just let him play an early game champion and try to snowball his lanes rather than that gold going into his pocket. Put it somewhere else.
Or if you are going to do that, so you take the case of their Graves games, if you will. Like, Graves is a great farming champion. He can scale really well, but they would continuously pick fights. And by they, I mean guys like Hilly and Bwipo, primarily, forcing fights when they didn't really need to. When Selfmade was creating advantages for himself, but they needed to go. And then you have individual missteps in the case of Nemesis. So it's a lot of pieces that aren't really aligning for Fnatic. To answer the question, though, does that mean that they won't make playoffs? I don't think so, because I still think that they're...
So you think they will, basically?
Yeah. And it's the idea that, like, you just have to be better than Vitality, Misfits, which they now hold the head-to-head over Misfits, SK, and Excel.
64% of the people at home, I've just been told, think that they still will, which actually
I can't believe it's
a
that
low
close
number. So let's look at this. This is Selfmade carrying.
Yeah, so this is part of the reason why I'm skeptical as if they'll make playoffs. And Sjokz, if you'll join me in a rendition of a song that we shall not name for DMCA concerns.
All right.
Ready?
Yes.
Bum, 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 da, ba, da, ba, da, ba, da, ba, da, ba, da. Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel about that entire series of play. That was some of the worst coordination, as I've said repeatedly, one of the worst early games I've seen in a long time. And so while the late game coordination was there, this was unacceptably bad from a playoffs team.
The way I've been thinking about this, though, is that if you pace this game in one of Fnatic's other splits, right? We would have been like, well, this is just what they do. This is just the experience on the lineup. You can't give them a finger, they'll take a hand. But this is so different because they aren't dominating, right?
Yeah, but we also were like, G2 can run down a few games on the split where they won MSI. When you win the split and then you're hugely dominant in 90% of your games, we'll give you the one where you run it down. When it's 50-50 if you're throwing the game or not, you don't get the benefit of the doubt anymore. They're resting right now on years of experience in their players and the pedigree of Fnatic. It is not the performance of this team right now that is carrying that playoffs fan vote.
Yeah, we're looking at some of Selfmade's champions here. So just to distill and kind of, we had a laugh, but come back to kind of the center of it. What you're saying is, well, they put so much agency on Selfmade, who is, of course, a great player, but they shouldn't always do that necessarily.
I mean, I don't mind it, but then you need to understand, like, what your play style is and how it's working for. It feels like Fnatic in the past, you know, you think about all those teleports that would go into the bot lane, how much they would skirmish around it, even if the Fnatic of way back when would be all just about the Rekkles team and just kind of moving him forward. If you're gonna play around Selfmade, and he is playing things like Graves, like Nocturne, even Kha'Zix to a lesser extent, like, set him up for success, recognize where his win conditions are, and play a little bit slower. You don't have to force so hard. I think Fnatic are forcing really hard and also not respecting when they don't have Selfmade in their back pocket. Think of how many times Bwipo is dying solo on lanes because he's playing weak side, his wave gets messed up and he overreaches. Just let Selfmade farm. You're on Cho'Gath. You don't have to force.
Yeah, but when it comes, when push comes to shove, it is a shove. It is a star-packed lineup from the side of Fnatic, who you really don't ever expect to miss playoffs. If you can just check in with the people at home who voted, I'm going to get an update in just a second. What is the spark they need now? Because now it's week 5. And actually, historically, in a lot of these Fnatic lineups, we've seen that this is actually the time that they start cleaning it up a little bit more. But we just don't seem to have the same inclination with this lineup. What has to happen?
Okay, so first and foremost, I think the draft needs to be ironed out a little bit. Like, the thing is I don't necessarily hate what Fnatic is putting together, but they don't look comfortable or confident playing it. Yesterday against them, things like Twisted Fate, Syndra were banned, and like, I like Nemesis on Twisted Fate. Maybe not this split. I think he's had some better performances on it. But like, if that TF is available to him, does he grab it again? Do you not get a quadra kill Orianna performance because the other team banned for you? Like, these are the concerns that I have with Fnatic, and now it's about putting together the consistency. If I see Nemi on TF, I need to see a stronger performance where he's not just inting team fights by teleporting into backlines and instantly dying.
Yep.
To be honest, like, I like how simply you're distilling it down, and I'm glad that you can be so concise, because I can't, because it's been such a mess in so many different areas that I don't think the solution for Fnatic is super simple, and that's why I'm not confident. That's why it scares me. So I want to see a rebirth. What does that rebirth look like? I have no idea.
All right, let's see. I mean, they have to start right now. They certainly can't drop the ball versus Vitality, because from now on, every game is a final for Fnatic as they're fighting for their lives in the playoffs race.
And for their fan base, Sjokz, I think the Fnatic faithful might be losing some faith. 60-odd% saying, yes, Fnatic can pull it together. There they are in the team huddle. And huge kudos to Rekkles, by the way, wearing the mask. Admittedly, the whole team does live together and share accommodation. So, you know, mitigating the rest of what he can. Stay safe out there, wash your hands, and wear a mask. COVID's a real thing, folks. Fnatic versus Vitality. I mean, look, Fnatic are still going to be the favorites in this game, but for Vitality, imagine they sneak a win. Fnatic's early game yesterday was not great. Drakos has made that abundantly clear. And if Vitality can pick up a surprise with Skeanz in the jungle, well, that's one gigantic step towards playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, playoffs a very attainable goal here for this Vitality roster. It is so tight in the middle of our standings. You really don't know who's going to come out on top at the end of the day. So I know there's been a lot of discussion on the analyst desk about these Fnatic drafts. I want to see what they bring in here today, because yesterday it was very different. We had the Kha'Zix in the jungle for Selfmade, Rekkles down on a Senna in the bot lane. I still like the Selfmade carry, but he's up against Skeanz on the other side, whose Hylissang was deadly, even though wasn't able to pull away the win yesterday.
So let's take a look then what swings out the gate. Now, Twisted Fate has seen a little bit more popularity. We've seen Nemesis running that a couple of times this split already, and we know that Skeanz and Selfmade played that Hylissang. Look at that, TF straight out the gate, banned away, denied that from Nemesis. And an instant reply back with the Kalista targeted towards Comp. Now the priority there on the Volibear. We saw the Karthus ban in the previous game. I've really been wanting to see the Karthus all weekend, especially after joking with you about it. I don't think we're going to get much luck. It doesn't feel like the European scrims have really utilized a lot, because it's been pretty absent.
Which is funny, because when Karthus was super meta in the past, like, Europe was the region that played it. You know, Yanko, Xerxes, Kadril played it a whole lot. So still, we'll give it some time, see if teams end up adopting it in the end. I do like the little ban there of the Kalista after yesterday. Even though Fnatic came away with the win against Misfits, they didn't enjoy playing against that Kalista down bot side. You also have the target ban of Hylissang against Skeanz, as well as Labrov's Bard, which has been consistently excellent here for Team Vitality. He's really impressed.
Definitely the case. And I mean, the Vitality bottom lane is kind of what's stolen the show for me this split. Comp and Labrov have been the standout performers. Milica and Cabochard, they have flirted with success at variable times, but we'll see what Comp and Labrov can do. The Senna's already been locked in. I know that's going to land in Rekkles' hands, whether it's going to be fasting or farming. I like the way Medic phrased that earlier today, and going to keep using it. One of the things that is very clear, the self-made carry style of Fnatic is already confirmed to a degree with that Senna locked in.
It's very much alive here. We'll see what he ends up putting in. Now, Rekkles did play the farming setting yesterday. I think we've seen a whole lot more of that starting to pop up ever since we got some buffs towards the farming playstyle. So that's what I like to see come through from Rekkles. Make sure you can get some extra gold here, pack a bigger punch in those fights.
Well, this is the first Azir that we're seeing in the Summer Split for Nemesis. Joins a roster of 8 unique champions. This will be his 9th. It'll be the second time that we are seeing Senna in Rekkles' hands. He has won with it once before. He managed to pick himself up a 10 KDA. Whereas on the other hand, this is the 4th time that Comp will be running that Ezreal. 1-2 of those previous matches with the Sett locked in. Some flexibility, can go Skeanz, can go Labrov.
Yeah, I really like the Ezreal as a pick for Vitality because A, it allows Comp, who has been having a pretty solid split so far, gives him the individual playmaking to, you know, survive dives, make a lot of, you know, damage come through himself, but it also then gives some power into Labrov. Let him go onto something that can roam around the map and have a big impact somewhere. Now, they banned the Thresh themselves, so we don't get to see him on that in this game. The Bard, which has been paired with the Ezreal for this Vitality bot lane, has also been played a few times, so I am a big fan of the Karma. I would be curious to see if we got to see something like that up against the Nautilus.
Well, it's very clear what you love. The pro players here don't care that much. We haven't seen the Karthus, we haven't seen the Karma. I agree though, it would be fun. Nautilus locked in here, we assume for Hylissang, so Senna, Nautilus bottom lane, Azir mid. We're going to be looking for junglers and top laners to complement it. Fairly flexible a little bit here on the Fnatic side. What would you like to see them consider for this first pick in the second half?
Well, that is, I mean, I'm actually really curious to see where they go because you can do it one of two ways. One, you say, hey, we actually want to invest in Bwipo. We want to make sure he gets a strong counter pick. The other is, well, we actually want Selfmade to be on something that can really dominate through the jungle. You know, he took the Kha'Zix late yesterday, has played a lot of the Graves in the past. So if Fnatic wanted to spin things around on Vitality quickly, I think they would save the jungle pick because that has the most flexibility, I think, in playstyle for Fnatic. But most teams here would go ahead and lock in a safe jungler coming out of this fourth pick.
Well, look at this top lane bans. Mordekaiser, Gangplank, as well as Sion removed from the pool. Leona taken out by Fnatic, implying that they believe that Sett is going to be going into the jungle. And it's going to be the Ornn, so saving that jungle pick. Safe, reliable. I mean, honestly, you've just got well-roundedness here, I think, on the Fnatic side. Maybe lacking a little bit of punch in the early stages of the game, but by no means a pushover, right? And over on the other side, now Vitality, support currently hovering the Braum in top lane for Cabochard. What would he like to run into the Ornn that would help complement? They've got some initiation, they've got some soft engage, but not really the hardest or most reliable.
If you were to look over to like the LCK, for example, like Sylas would be a big one here, but of course, Vitality have a decent amount of magic damage, you know, Ezreal dealing quite a bit there, but of course the Orianna too, so I wouldn't necessarily expect Cabochard to rock that himself. It's not really a champion that's in his wheelhouse either, but against an Ornn, I think Sylas can really round out your composition very well.
Seeing a lot of it. Few seconds left on this timer. And it's going to be the Urgot instead. Do you like the Urgot into the Ornn and what it brings the Vitality comp?
I mean, it definitely gives Cabochard the ability to play through lane and try to shred down frontliners later on into the game, because Vitality's comp is all about controlling the space in front of them, likely an Iceborne Gauntlet Ezreal next to an Orianna, who could go GLP very easily here, and just buy space for your ranged backline to deal damage. So Urgot helps chip down the front, whittle down the Ornn, because once Ornn is gone, the fight becomes much easier to play.
Is Kha'Zix the bridge from the early game to the late game rather? Where does Kha'Zix fit into this? Because I quite like this when I think about what it can do with some of the other lanes.
I mean, Kha'Zix just has hunting potential, right? So I think it's a decent pick up against the Sett, right? You're going to be farming well in the early game. The buffs buffed both his early dueling as well as his jungle clear. But of course, I think this champion is all about finding skirmishes and dominating in spread out fights. That's what you want. You want to find those isolated targets, and then your damage is going to be really high. But against likely an Iceborne Gauntlet Ezreal, a lot of armor building options on the side of Vitality, I actually think this is a game where Kha'Zix isn't going to be able to do a whole lot the later we get.
Very, very difficult situation then. On the assumption, he's not ahead. If Selfmade can do something early on, maybe we can see if he can help out Rekkles and Nemesis and let them take over in the game later on. Time will tell. It's Vitality versus Fnatic. Welcome back. It is Vitality taking on Fnatic today. And Fnatic yesterday had a very, very disappointing early game. So I want to see them clean that up today. They're currently sitting 5-5 in the standings. Vitality 4-6. We just saw earlier today XL losing a game. We saw Misfits losing a game. So Fnatic or Vitality will be joining them a little lower down the standings, as we're only going to have 3 weeks left after this one. In terms of the early game, Mr. Frierson my eyes were on Selfmade. Should I be looking at him or should I look elsewhere?
I mean, my eyes have been on Selfmade for the last 60 seconds, and the more I look at this pick, the more I hate it. Like,
Okay,
I'm going to be honest here, because
well, I hope you never lie, but please continue.
yeah, you know, Selfmade. We'll get right past that. The Kha'Zix just doesn't really feel like it fits with the rest of this composition, because Fnatic have very strong front-to-back team fighting. You know, they want to be, you know, clumping people up, right? With an Ornn ultimate, Sand Soldiers, everything says Fnatic want to take fights in a tight area. And then this Kha'Zix pick is like, yo guys, could you spread out a little bit? Give me some space. I want to find, you know, single players, pick them up, and do that. So, you know, when we get into these team fights, I think his goals are misaligned with the rest of what Fnatic is trying to do. So then his team fighting becomes really difficult because his job is less of, you know, playing with his team and more, can he get it on a flank, maybe disrupt comp in the back line?
Okay.
But with a lot of CC options from Vitality, I don't think that's a super easy thing to do either. So it could just be like W evolve time for the Kha'Zix and just play for that team-wide slow to set up for his damage dealer.
Now, try to theorize with me why we would see it, right? Because, and also another question, do you think this is something that Fnatic have done with Selfmade a little bit in the past? It has felt to me like they have been a jungle-led team when it comes to drafting.
Yep.
Selfmade has sort of had a very high priority to get what he wants, or they've played around him a fair amount. And I feel like there's been some questions sometimes on whether it was the right call, whether it was they should have maybe tried a different option.
Sure, but I think this is also the player that Selfmade is, because this tracks all the way back to the SK days when you would save 5th pick and then he locks in an Evelynn in the jungle. And that's crazy. That's out of nowhere, but it's the style that he likes to play. And yeah, you could criticize Fnatic for it, but it has worked for them in the past. And I think he is certainly a player that can surprise and dominate on picks like this. I just think, like, I'm not upset with them saving counter pick for Selfmade. I just feel like this pick itself was not the right answer. You know, a Graves wouldn't really fit here either, pretty low range, but in this case, I feel like you almost want to double up on the team fight here for Fnatic with the rest of the picks around you.
Well, then again, let's see what Selfmade can do, right? We've raised the question marks. Now we need to evaluate the performance, and honestly, let's look at his decision-making. Once we get a few more levels under his belt, we will show everyone at home what the skill order is for this Kha'Zix. We can debate and discuss whether...
Probably going to be QWE.
Yeah, that's why I said
my guess.
That's why I said a few more levels.
Okay.
I know the basics, but I want to see what he does decide to evolve and kind of what path he goes, because, you know, you're already discussing some of the different options he could take.
I kind of want to dispel the myth, because I feel like I've seen people talking about this Kha'Zix and it's like, oh, he dominates in the early game. I'm like, oh, well... Not really. Like, I don't really feel like there's a lot of lanes that he can set up to gank for himself. Top lane might be a little bit difficult. When he has red buff, he has the slow to be able to do some stuff there, but really he relies on his teammates to set him up, and then he can deal some damage, but it's all about finding enemies outside of their minion waves.
And talking about finding enemies, Skeanz is going to make his way down. I think he's avoided that ward, yes, as Comp and Labrov were able to take it out. By the way, just quick side note, 3 teleports on the side of Vitality, as Skeanz is going to get instantly spotted out. Summon a heal used very defensively there by Rekkles, I think respecting a potential engage. Ward went down, Vitality went in, and they got themselves a heal.
That is the classic Hylissang play, though. Back when I remember played a whole lot of Braum, you W forward towards a minion, proc your passive, and then set up for a gank. Now, the wave is still pushed forward here, and Skeanz can look for the repay. Now there is no movement speed from that heal.
And Hylissang was caught by the Winter's Bite, gets stunned up as Rekkles is going to make his way to safety, and Hylissang gets caught, pulled backwards, and first blood secured to
Don't
Skeanz.
flash like that, Hilly.
Nope.
You're dead.
Yep. I conceded. And he doesn't.
So okay, let me take this, because Fnatic just showed an inability to work with their jungler right there. Selfmade path down towards bot lane. It looked like he was being called by Rekkles and Hilly. Their lane was pushing out, and that's why it looked kind of strange, because he ran all the way through bot lane. It's not like he made a beeline for Gromp. He went bot and then changed his mind. So, when Fnatic are trying to push out that wave, it's clearly working against them. They get ganked the first time. Why then does Selfmade continue to run top lane? Why does he not then make it down towards the bottom lane to help them push that in? Because, like, Fnatic should know they're very gankable. Skeanz just ganked them once and then hit him twice, and he gets a kill.
It's one of those things that, especially when we get more time closer towards playoffs, when we get a little bit more time to dive really, really deep into if Fnatic make it to playoffs, is this a trend that we have seen time and time again? Are these flash in the pan problems? And there's different problems every week, but it is issues that need to be resolved, especially for a team with a pedigree of Fnatic, for a team that wants to be looking to challenge for titles. It feels like Fnatic have bigger problems to work through than some of the other competitors around them right now versus their expectations.
Oh, Nemesis looks for the play in mid, roam by Bwipo. Milica will flash out of that and survive, but of course, did burn that summoner spell. And, I mean, Vitality continuing to try and hit bot lane, and Hilly doesn't have flash.
He doesn't, but he's got himself a dredge line. The shield will not be enough from Skeanz. Tries to get the damage down on the auto attack. Luckily, that dredge line saving him this time around and nobody to catch it.
So, Fnatic over the last year have changed so much as a team. And Frosk was talking about this a bit on the desk, where she was saying, right, like, remember when Fnatic was just the team that TP'd bot lane and killed and got kills for Rekkles, and that was all it was. They were very focused on that bot lane, but also, and I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, I'm not trying to tell you that Broxah was necessarily better than Selfmade. Broxah played for his lanes. He was about being there to help them and make sure that they would not get punished. Like the gank we just saw in bot lane when Skeanz comes and kills Hylissang when the wave is pushing out. Broxah is the type of player that would be there to help them.
Yes.
Now, I'm not sure what's going on in the comms, right? Selfmade could have been told by Rekkles, hey, they're fine bot lane, he's going to go topside, but it is a very different style of game. In the draft, it's more about the Kha'Zix, it's more about Selfmade. In the gameplay, it's about putting him ahead and less what his lanes need, and that has shown to be a problem there.
The interesting thing for me, because look, I don't see the game at the same level that you do, and I'm significantly worse at playing it, right? However, when I have seen Fnatic try to run that same style as last year, when you do have, you know, Rekkles on a late scaling ADC and you've got a more supportive jungler coming out of Selfmade, they haven't won those games. And they're currently not winning very many of the games where Selfmade is the tip of the spear, the front man, the man that's getting the priority. So there needs to be some either refinement, some improvement, some tweaks to it. And obviously those like small mistakes there that you highlighted earlier, Hilly and Rekkles maybe not working with Selfmade, maybe not respecting it.
No.
Now Skeanz is going to come in with the showstopper. Rekkles with a very good flash to buy some time. But the Unbreakable comes up, and the Haymaker is going to be enough this time around. Here comes Selfmade. He manages to get a leap onto one, turns his attention back towards Labrov, needs to get it, and he does. Rekkles stays alive, manages to walk, and finally gets taken down by Skeanz. But Selfmade needs to get one more fear. He can taste it. And it is Skeanz for the double.
All right, now that is an excellent punish there from Selfmade. Will this connect?
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, you did do it! You've got to be kidding me, Selfmade! His hands are shaking!
I'm on the floor! Oh, our observers bait us all the time. They never hit. They never hit these days.
That one wasn't gonna hit! He saw the light and he's like, well, take me with you!
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I can only apologize to you. We do not have the ability to replay and show it back.
Because, and we were just told, there was a bug splat in more ways than one.
Oh, man. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we do not have the ability to live replay for a few more minutes. As you may or may not know, due to competitive integrity reasons, we do play with a delay. So that's obviously the players are in the advanced, and yes, we have mentioned that the replay machine will get fixed in a few minutes' time. Now, as we come back into it, right, Fnatic, 3 kills to 4. They're down a few hundred gold. We've spoken extensively about Fnatic. I would like to reframe the conversation about Vitality. Skeanz, Comp, and Labrov have been making plays.
Forget Comp and Labrov. Skeanz is the new man on the roster this week, returning to the team, and he has played very well. Yesterday, on the Lee Sin, surprisingly, it was a bit different because it wasn't about him crushing through the early game, but he got super impactful kicks later on. This game, he has hit Rekkles and Hylissang very hard, and now you have a play topside.
All right, Cabochard is going to get in as well, be able to take out the Rift Herald. Teleport comes down from Labrov, who, by the way, is running that Spellbook Summoner, so he's going to come up to support. The tower is still not taken down. 3-1-1 for Skeanz. Got himself that Hex Flash, got himself that Chilling Smite already. And again, as you mentioned, it has been about him in this bottom lane. What is the problem now for Comp? Well, let's take a look at this.
He has Exhaust and Ignite. Bwipo switched over.
Has been called Exhaust, Ignite, Bellows Breath. And Bwipo, man, just dumpsters Comp.
See ya. Well, Comp, it was nice knowing you, but you ran into the wrong lane. Any lane where Ornn's there, it's the wrong lane, man. And now the rest of Vitality trying to make a play tops. Wait a second. Why is
Let's see what happens here. Hylissang.
Hylissang walked into the wave,
In a little-
and Rekkles ran away.
Rekkles maybe afraid of the dive.
This is so cool. So Hylissang is basically saying, hey, they can kill me if I want. But he sets up a freeze and also holds the minions in front of the tower so they're not dying to the tower. So Rekkles is there, waiting in the wing, so he's not there immediately. But once they feel safe, they're like, Vitality aren't actually here to punish. That's when they return. So it looked like they were on the completely opposite pages. In actuality, that was a really smart call to make sure Rekkles could get that farm safely.
And with the farm, with the kill, Rekkles and Fnatic are now in control of the game by a margin. They've got themselves an Ocean Drake as well. Kills a 4-4 and CS advantage for Rekkles on that Senna. Nash's Tooth picked up by Nemesis in the mid lane. He's plus 20. We've barely looked at Milica and Nemesis. Nemesis did go for that early engage just a few minutes ago and wasn't able to pick up the kill. Milica's flash has become back available, but I think we'll start to see these mid laners get more involved as the game plays out. And now we're just seeing some swippy swaps. Rekkles and Hilly went top. They pushed some lanes. Remember, Labrov TP'd up after the attempted Shelly move, and now we're seeing it again. Explain to me a little bit about why you think, or why the teams are swapping these lanes as frequently in the last few minutes.
Well, I think Skeanz pretty much has one lane to play. Wait a second. Cabo's looking for...
He's gone for the flash. Rekkles manages to escape for now. Now, Fear Beyond Death has not done enough damage to find the kill. Rekkles simply outplaying this one. Now the turnaround from Cabochard. Down. Fear Beyond Death. Cabo gets the kill, but at what cost? Teleport is thrown down from Bwipo, and Cabo will be the next target. Look at the minimap, though, as members of Vitality are leaving the middle lane. Selfmade's waiting to hop over the wall, and...
So Bwipo still has ultimate, so him and Hylissang could walk up through the river, but they just want Milica.
Yeah, they do indeed. There goes the leap, taste the fear. The shockwave finds no one. Selfmade reads it like a book. Dredgeline from Hylissang. The ray gun from Rekkles won't find the target. Call of the Forge God is interrupted by Braum. Now Bwipo and the rest of Fnatic continue the chase. The dunk down from Selfmade. He survives a few seconds longer. Here comes Skeanz. The leap away. And the non-evolved W. Fnatic out-skirmish Vitality and stomp them in the river.
That was really nicely done there from Fnatic. Rekkles a little bit sad that he got taken down there, but the way Selfmade was able to get behind Milica without Vitality knowing, get all that damage and dodge the shockwave on top, excellent stuff, and Bwipo, who still had the ultimate, could lock that one down. So this is what the Kha'Zix pick is about. So when I was talking about it in drafts, it doesn't really make sense with the composition when you look later in the game for the fights, but in these spread out skirmishes, you can see how deadly the pick can be.
Yes. Now, as much criticism we were throwing down earlier, 3-1 and 3. Obviously prioring the queue for the time being, as you can see on the skill order. For the next few minutes, now we're at 15. 2,000 gold lead, 2 Drakes under the belt, an Infernal Soul to play with. What do you think about the Kha'Zix and the next few minutes' expectations?
I think the Kha'Zix is going to be really strong for at least the next 5 minutes, but we're going to see pivots and itemization now. So we already have Ninja Tobbies coming through for Cabochard and Skeanz. Comp should work on an Iceborne Gauntlet, and once armor starts to get picked up for Fnatic, that is when Selfmade's value is going to just start to plummet, because it's so easy for Ezreal to itemize multiple armor items with the Death Dance after the Iceborne once Milica gets a Zhonya's as well. Like, this is going to make it much harder for him to have an impact. So the next 5 minutes, the next Infernal Drake, this is where Selfmade needs to, cash out, because the rest of the game will be carried by his teammates.
Yeah, Hylissang's just going to get jumped on. Yeah, gets pulled backwards, actually. I think the Dredgeline was about to pull him to safety, and obviously Vitality committed a fair amount with that Hex Flash engage. And I mean, Ender, you said that in draft. You talked about itemization. You talked about how armor was going to be problematic here for Selfmade, but you like to assume that maybe the Azir and maybe some Brittle from Bwipo's Ornn can start to help out a little bit in the coming minutes. And Shockwave, is it a bait? And if so, can Nemesis escape?
Well, Bwipo's about to be here too, so this is the thing. Vitality brought both a jungler and a support. Fnatic are like, hey, we've got a jungler and a top laner. That's a little bit better there with the finished Sunfire, but it will mean that Rekkles is stranded up here.
He is indeed going to be forced to flash. Rekkles this game, highly, highly respecting every potential. Instant flashes, instant summoners. He's been jumped on multiple times and has escaped most of them. But Vitality at 15 minutes, they've got themselves 6 kills. I mean, this is a very, very high-octane game as far as skirmishes. And Skeanz has been at the forefront of the vast majority of them. Now the tower's going to fall here in the mid lane. It will be the first of the game at 15 minutes. The Fnatic are the ones that have unlocked it.
So it's very clear, Vitality with NG were not a super proactive team. I felt they were very focused around team fighting, and that's how they edged out a lot of their wins, relying on Comp's ability to play out the team fights. The dynamic of weaving Skeanz back into this roster, he and Labrov are working so well together, and that is the dynamic that is huge for this squad because they have consistently ganked bot lane early, then the rotations up, you see they burn Rekkles' flash again. They're going everywhere together, and that is what is making this game feel so fast. It's not just, you know, Fnatic forcing plays, Vitality randomly forcing plays. No, it is that duo that is finding the moves.
What I really like about that fact is it's kind of breathed some fresh life. You know, Cabochard had a few suboptimal performances, shall we say. I like the fact he's on the Urgot for now. He's got a minor advantage. This playstyle, this like skirmish heavy go in, is something that I've liked from Vitality. Back when Yamato was on the squad, it was the bloodthirsty go all in style. It has been a long time, and those were the high highs that Vitality have yet to replicate, right?
Yeah.
And now we need to see where Skeanz will take this team. They're still in a deficit. They're behind in gold, they're behind in kills, they're behind in dragons, and they're going to be putting some pressure on this bottom tower, and I see a disappointed face here, Ender.
I'm dying.
Why are you dying?
Comp he got scammed. He went over to the shopkeeper and he's like, give me, what do I need? What do I need? The shopkeeper's hyping up. He upsold him, right? He's like, the Trinity Force is about 1,000 gold more expensive. Yeah, it'll be great. It gives you all this damage. You combine 3 items into 1. Iceborne Gauntlet against 2 lethality users is broken. Just do it.
But he didn't. He got scammed by the shopkeeper. And what'll actually be very interesting to see is the gameplay impact if Selfmade can pick him off, right? And how quickly Selfmade can pick him off, or whether or not Rekkles can assassinate him with some of the long-range spells, right? So let's see what happens in the team fights.
Sure.
And I want you to be extra vigilant in the evaluation, right? Can Comp play safe enough to mitigate it?
This is what I hate, though, is if Comp is playing safe in fights, he's not dealing damage in fights.
Yeah.
And he is the main carry in this composition. Like, yes, you can spread out damage to an Orianna and Urgot in fights, but when we start to get 30, 40 minutes into this game, it is going to be the Ezreal. That's the consistent threat for Vitality. And yes, he will have more damage, but if he can be threatened to be instantly burst by a Kha'Zix, or even, you know, walks up to a Senna and gets 1-2 punch, like, that is a bad, bad look for Vitality.
Well, we'll see. We've got a few minutes to play through. He's 2-2-2. There's a teleport now into the mid lane from Nemesis, joining the rest of the squad. There was no wave, no big pressure just yet. Skeanz will be pulling Bwipo forward, but Fnatic have not committed anything
split pushing.
just yet.
Selfmade's in bot lane, so he's like, I'm actually the least relevant player when it comes to a team fight, so I'm going to go pick up the waves bot lane. Make sure Azir and Senna are next to each other. That'll be good.
Duskblade of Drakthar completed, level 11, and look at this. Hylissang's just going to get blown up. He's going to get obliterated. He flashes away. He stays alive. There goes the shockwave. That catches 2. Rekkles is down. Hylissang follows shortly thereafter, and now Nemesis is trying to use those Sand Soldiers. The Rift Herald and the Kha'Zix, yes, they get a tower. Comp has a triple kill after that fight, and the first Infernal Drake of the game is available for the taking. I mean, that was heartbreaking for the Fnatic fans.
Yep. Selfmade's pushing bot lane, and Fnatic just walked down mid and get engaged on, and that's right preceding, you know, before the Infernal Drake spawn. So Fnatic are going to give that one up when they had full map control for so long.
Yes.
They had to push a bot lane. Selfmade's telling his team, slow down, guys. I've got a Rift Herald bot. That's going to draw attention over. All Fnatic had to do was not walk into the team fight, and they did just that.
Oh, but hang on. What happened from the very first gank of the game where Skeanz came in and Selfmade was maybe coming to help, but didn't come help, and maybe...
Don't pin this on Selfmade.
No. It's the communication. It's the combination.
Sure.
What thread I'm trying to see is that if and when Selfmade is doing something, whether the team is communicating and working around it, they're not on the same page. Look at the minimap. There's a lot to look at right now because while we're seeing
going on live as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Hylissang just getting a little bit caught out.
I mean, that shockwave is really nice too. Hylissang and Rekkles were trying to split up. And then, yeah, I mean, Skeanz gets the flash knockback there onto Bwipo, picks him up with the ultimate. Fnatic.
Exquisite shockwave from Milica. Comp closes it out. 3 kills from that fight. He's 5-2-2, got the Lucy boots and a Bilgewater Cutlass picked up. And now we need to see, because look...
He's never going to build armor. There's no Death Dance coming in either, Trevor.
But that also means that there's no margin for error, right? Like, if Comp does get picked off consistently by this Kha'Zix, well, then Ender's going to be ranting.
Sure.
And I'm going to warn you, everyone at home, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone else listening, if this continues, right, Ender's going to rant. Leandry's Torment picked up there by Milica as a second item after the Seraphs has been picked up, and we're 2 towers to 3. It's a 500 gold difference that's like insignificant at this point in time, but very, very fortunate. The total gold in the hands. Look at this. Comp number 1, then Nemesis, Selfmade, Rekkles. Milica and Cabo need to play a little bit of catch-up here. If Fnatic want to try and get the lead. This is a 4v2. There's the knock-up onto Labrov. Remember, Comp has got no armor, and Enter's watching this very closely. All 5 members of Fnatic are nearby. The Emperor's Divide is available. Call to the Forge God gets obliterated by the Unbreakable Shield. And there's the Sand Soldiers. The dunk comes down from the Showstopper. Nemesis gets 1. Skeanz is already dead in the fight. And so far, Fnatic get 2, get out. And they get themselves another lead.
Yeah, that was a quick hit and run right there, because if they stayed around for just a couple more seconds, Milica was there with a flash ultimate ready to go, and they were trapped in a very tight quarter, so good on them to recognize the opportunity and get out with the advantage, not throw more away.
I literally was ramping up in the voice. I was waiting for that shockwave to happen, and it didn't. Comp was able to escape with his life this time around. But credit to Fnatic here. They did expend 2 flashes, though. Rekkles and Selfmade will not have that available in the coming minutes. And it's 2 minutes to the next Infernal. Let's keep looking forward. Does Selfmade keep split pushing on this Kha'Zix? We know we don't like him in team fights. So around these objectives, well, don't like. It's more difficult.
No, think about the split push, though. I think the last one was more driven by the fact that he had Rift Herald and wanted to put that in a lane where no one was going to be able to match it quickly. More often than not, I think Fnatic won't actually put him in a side lane. The only time I think they would commit to him in a side lane would be when they pick up a Baron buff, when they're trying to siege. Because that's when it's actually like, he's actually the least relevant to the team on a siege, and he can come in from a flank from a side lane. That's something we see from quite a few different, more skirmish-focused jungle picks like the Kha'Zix.
And you can see a little bit of fear there. True Shot Barrage thrown into the pit to try scout it out. That's the word I was looking for. And from the Vitality perspective, I mean, obviously we know we like some of their team fight options here. They've grouped up and they've managed to punish Fnatic when it seems like Fnatic are moving. But outside of some of those early laning moves, it looks like they're going fishing, and now all of a sudden they are the ones challenging Vision around the pit at 23 minutes.
That's what they needed, right? When they had to, they don't want to keep trying to scout that one out with a True Shot Barrage. Get some control around mid, and I think that it's interesting that Vitality have been able to catch out Fnatic so many times this game, because I don't think their comp is like excels at it, right? Yeah. You have a Braum who's not as good as, you know, a Thresh or the Nautilus on the other side, but they've been consistently able to do it, and it's around a mid lane. But keep your eyes on Selfmade. He just jumped over the wall. He wants to find the flank unsuspectingly, but now doesn't have the E to get out.
And he wasn't spotted though. Will fire out those evolved spike racks onto Labrov and then back out. I think Labrov just threw the ghost down before swapping out the spellbook. 30 seconds to Infernal. I would say what are the teams doing, but it's very clear. They are setting up for Infernal.
And it's important to note, though, that Selfmade did evolve his spikes, because that does give him a team fight output that is not jump in and try to kill the backline. Keep people in front of you to let your Senna do her work, as well as that Azir. Those 2 champions just want people slowed down and ready to be hit in front of them.
And as far as itemization is concerned, Black Cleaver picked up 4 Selfmade to complement those evolved spike racks. Rekkles just got himself a Youmuu's Ghostblade. And now it is Fnatic that has started off the Baron. True Shot does a big chunk of damage, in fact, to Rekkles and Nemi. Hilly is donating his life away. He was trying to buy some time inside the pit. It is just picked up by Vitality. 1, 2, 3. There are 4 kills. There is a Baron, and that is simply unacceptable from Fnatic.
Vitality just destroy Fnatic right there. Hylissang gets caught trying to slow them down. Selfmade misses the smite. It could have been Bwipo with a smite on the unsealed spellbook, but regardless, they completely flop the Baron attempt. We must stop going for these 50-50s and then failing to execute on them.
That is Europe as a region, and Fnatic, what was this? Hylissang tries to buy time, obviously, but...
Yeah, so this isn't Hylissang's fault. He's trying to ulting Skeanz, slow it down, and the call has come in 65 HP. And I believe that was Selfmade, because that was a blue smite animation coming down. Or sorry, red smite animation, then blue coming through from Skeanz right there to get the steal. I mean, I'm just baffled at some of the choices here.
And again, I want to go back to, right, Hylissang, I think the call is it delay. Try to buy some time.
Yes.
Throw everything you
Yes.
can because we want to burst it.
They
right?
misread the situation. They
Thank
did
you.
not think it was a 50-50 attempt. They did not realize the amount of time they actually needed there with Skeanz able to shrug off the CC and fly on in with the Deadmans.
And we turn it to the other side. Vitality! 4 kills out of it, 3 I think it was, plus the Baron. It has been Skeanz from the early game, and now every time there's an opportunity to punish, they are doing it. 12 kills to 10. Gold lead for the first time in a long time. Baron empowered minions. And Comp says, I don't care about your no armor. Let's see how long that lasts. Exhaust onto Selfmade. That will time out in just a moment. Dredge line from Hilly.
It matters, Trevor.
Rid of the Baron buff. That's a caster curse if ever I've seen one.
Oh!
The grit from Skeanz is there. Nemesis, though, gets obliterated. Yes, that's a great Emperor's Divide, but there was no one else around you. The rest of the
Cabo!
Cabo! Oh, man, fear beyond death. He manages to get it over the wall.
What is going on?
27 kills in 26 minutes. I realize I have screamed a lot to everyone watching at home.
I've sighed a lot, Trevor.
I know you have.
we have a nice place.
I think we're bringing both perspectives. And I want to just say, like, on one hand, Fnatic started that off so well, trying to get the kills, punishing a little bit of, like, Vitality's decision. They were pushing top and middle lane. They exposed themselves to an ability to get jumped on. Just as I start saying, Comp's played so well, I was literally about to say his positioning's great. Then Selfmade just Kuma stops it.
I'm like, look, armor, kind of a big deal. And like Comp had played the game very well before then, you know, the Kha'Zix hadn't been able to find the jump on, but it just takes that one time, and you can see that 2 Qs from Kha'Zix means a dead Ezreal.
Okay, we are 27 minutes into this game. It is as even as it is going to be. 4 kills to 4. 2 dragons to 2. The gold is even. The kills, I don't care that there's +1 to Vitality, right? I need to know who you think is going to win this game because of the state that we are in.
Oh. I think Vitality got it.
Okay, how do they unlock this game? Baron has just timed out. They've lost a number of course. 2.5 to go. 2 minutes to Infernal. There's no soul available.
So I think realistically, compositions I do think are quite close because Vitality have really good scaling options, teamfight options in the Ezreal and the Orianna when it comes to making. Okay, we're just fighting a mid lane.
They are indeed. Remember that this was Comp and Labrov that opted into the situation.
I changed my mind, Trevor.
And Labrov decide to jump forward, and in the blink of an eye, Hylissang turns it around with the help of Fnatic. 2 quick kills, and now they might be able to lock in a turret.
And Trevor, I'm not going to shut up about the items because it's not just the Kha'Zix with the lethality. It's also the Senna, full lethality down there. So, again, an auto attack and ultimate and 1 Q. That's going to be a kill onto Comp as well. Hylissang almost connects the hook. Will not result in a kill, but will result in the tower. And Nemesis is building up that wave in the bot lane too, pushing that one forward. I do think Fnatic are going to back away after this, but these are the moves we're going to see from them, and if they make that before the Baron in a minute 40 seconds, that could very easily push them into a win.
29 minutes of gameplay, 29 kills, a comedy of errors and celebrations on both fronts. I used the word perplexing. I think I'm going to keep using this word because that's where my head is at. It's just, it's really, really weird seeing some of the things that have been going on, and now the Fnatic have sort of find themselves 2 picks. They've got some control in the lanes. They've got a tower advantage. It feels like it is late enough that one bad team fight could win the game for either team, really.
It's, I mean, we're at the point now where, because it's 2 dragons apiece, the fight around the Infernal Drake may not end up swinging things entirely, but because it's so close to the Baron, if these teams all in, that fight will then mean the Baron as well. So this is a huge swing moment in the game in the next 20 seconds if these 2 teams commit forward.
Cabochard does not have teleports. He was down in the bottom lane. Needs to make his way back up to the team. That Fear Beyond Death just a few moments ago was beautiful over the wall. And look at that. Rekkles gets a little chunk of damage onto Labrov. 2 seconds for Infernal, 30 seconds for Baron. Vitality will have the position to push mid lane.
I think they just give it up. Yep, just push in mid because this is a good trade from Vitality. They say, we don't really have control over River. We're going to push mid, maybe get the tower, and then I actually don't think the tower's that impactful. I would go for Vision, but Fnatic are now going to find a potential fight on them. Vitality get clumped up here.
All of the Forge God. Where is the Braum shield? Braum's nowhere near. There's the Forge God. Now the shield has been used already. Skeanz is on the back line. He's jumping into Nemesis. The fight's on multiple fronts, but it's Fnatic that have split Vitality up. Labrov and Milica, they can't do much. The Shockwave can't get into position. Fnatic have poked down so much. Hylissang cares not about your Shockwave, and the Dredge line pulls Milica to his death. Skeanz goes down immediately after, and Fnatic have found their way into the game. They may have found their way into the win. They're chasing Comp. They're chasing Cabo. And there will be a Baron available to them. Fnatic have cut off the escape
They're not
completely.
going to let them escape. TP coming in from Bwipo now. Selfmade is on the hunt. Cabochard is going to go down, and Comp's just trying to stay alive.
Yeah, and he's not going to be able to. He's got the flash available to him. Nemesis with the slide and the glide. Comp will find himself one kill before he's taken out by Selfmade. That's going to be Fnatic with the ace. 20 seconds is the shortest death timer for a carry, at least. Skeanz Untitled Labrov is just up, but Baron should go the way of Fnatic this time around. There's no one to steal it. There's no true shot barrage. They can't 50-50 this one. And this should be now Fnatic in control of this game.
Yeah, Bwipo just quickly forging Selfmade an Obsidian Cleaver before they start up that Baron. And even with the Azir down, I was wondering maybe it slows down the Baron, but a Kha'Zix going to shred through this one very, very easily. This fight was a weird one, because again, Vitality sort of tunnel visioned on getting the mid lane tower, and that opened up the flank on the side from Bwipo, which quickly gets shut down, but it is at this point that Vitality don't really know what to do, because Labrov gets picked off, Bwipo stays alive for so long, he's so tanky at this point in the game, and then watch this, Hylissang gets CC'd, but his hook still goes through, he travels onto Milica, Labrov tries to block that, he was so close to saving his mid laner, but he trades his life too, and it is not good for Vitality.
The thing is, it doesn't feel to me as if it would have had a huge impact. I mean, maybe if that Shockwave had done more, right? Because Fnatic just found a way to split Vitality up. They got so much early damage down. And I'm going to be very blunt right now. Please do correct me if this is too far over the line, but this game has been a comedy of errors. As far as I'm concerned, 36 kills in 32 minutes. It has been fun to watch. Here comes Selfmade.
Oh, God!
Oh, my word! Yep, there we go. That's why the Kha'Zix was picked. Finds the isolation damage. He tastes the fear with the evolved Reaper claws. And just like the death himself, swings the scythe and takes a Vitality down.
Well, Bwipo's gone, and that's a big fear.
Beyond Death comes out. The Emperor's Divide locks up everyone from Vitality. Multi-man knockup from Bwipo. The rest of Fnatic come in, and Nemesis stays alive the entire damn time. An ace onto Vitality inside the base before Fnatic go for the Nexus. We get a dramatic picture-in-picture replay.
It's the fadeaway, too. He hits him with the spikes, flies on out, resets the E as well.
Disgusting, disgusting damage. 42 kills in 33 minutes. And just as many questionable decisions. It was fun to watch.
It was sometimes painful to watch, but it was fun.
Fnatic get themselves a 2-0 week and one of the most controversial, unique, and interesting 2-0 weeks ever over Misfits and Vitality. Nominations for Key Player of the Game. Bwipo, Selfmade, Rekkles, at LEC on Twitter. We're on camera, sorry. You can tell there's a tension up here today. And there are some big-ass question marks that we are going to be asking players in interviews and content series like Euphoria. But for Fnatic fans, huge, huge, huge 2-0, 6-5. They are now near the top. There's a few teams below them, a couple games behind. This is monumental for playoffs.
And you never doubt Selfmade. That's what we learned today. Don't doubt him. Put him on whatever he wants. He's going to get the kills. It'll work. Boom. Ship it.
That's a bold call, bro. But honestly, after seeing that last kill onto Milica, it's hard to question it. Coming up next, we got the battle you've all been waiting for. It is the Mad Lions and G2 facing off in our match of the week. Come right back. It's gonna kick ass. That was a bit loud. That was a little loud.
I kind of realized last year that I can actually be the best in EU.
Why do they keep breaking?
Losing against us in the best of 5 is like probably hurt their pride a bit. Of course, like we are first place as well, like they probably want to beat us.
Bring me a real challenge.
It is fairly easy to play against Mad as long as they have a good game plan and good draft into the game.
Once playoffs comes around, we will see why I have been at the top for so long and everyone else hasn't.
have a chance against me. I can calculate 90 trillion moves in advance. Not fair. Not fair.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Hello and welcome back to the LEC. I'm joined with the victorious Rekkles after a 2-0 week for Fnatic. But Rekkles, as much as I would love to sit here and celebrate with you, I think the nature of the 2-0 leak has left a lot of people with questions. One of the big statements we've heard kind of on the desk recently is that Fnatic is a team composed of very, very good players, but they're not really playing like a team. What do you think about that statement?
Pretty much aligns with what I think is going on in the team right now. As you could probably tell after yesterday's game and today's game, I wasn't very happy with our performance. I think if we want to be well, what we want to be, which is a winner of Europe and a contestant of the World Championship, then this is not enough. It's very far from enough. So it's disappointing to be in this setting, but at the same time, we need all the wins we can get. So it's also nice to just get these wins, because then that will allow us to be more relaxed for the future. Not to say we're going to be relaxed, but to say we can focus then on more what we actually need to focus on and not be so stressed about the public eye and all that stuff.
Yeah, and of course, public eye there's a lot of pressure on you always as a Fnatic player. It feels like big expectations from your fan consistently is a theme that everyone on your roster has always had to deal with. But looking at the team as a whole right now, one of the trends that's been coming up a lot is that you guys have been mixing it up a lot in the bottom lane. And one of the things that you and I have talked about before on Euphoria is kind of the history of Fnatic with, let's say, kind of you called them band-aid bot lanes, things like the Garen Yuumi, things like the Karma bot lane as well. Are we in a situation where you're kind of going back to that just to get the necessary wins? Or are all the new picks we're seeing from Fnatic, whether it was the Graves Soraka earlier on, or you now playing the Senna AD carry, is this you advancing the style, or is this you falling back to kind of old habits to get the wins that you need?
I would say I'm falling back. I think in the beginning of the split, I was very keen to expand and try new things and maybe even risk a potential win for getting like to see how if I can actually play these champions. But now it's more like, yeah, we really need the wins. So I'm trying to figure out what I can do to get them. And in this case, I think Senna's a really strong champion. So I figured I should play it this week.
Overall, it feels like despite the kind of the intensity of this conversation, the fact that you're talking about Fnatic not really coming together as a team, we're talking about falling back on old habits, something that I know you haven't been proud of in the past. It still feels like you're very calm, you're very collected. Is there any fear in your mind at all about this Fnatic lineup potentially not making it to playoffs this time around?
I mean, it's crossed my mind that we're not going to make playoffs and then eventually Worlds. But at the same time, I feel like it's not really helping anyone to live in that bubble of negativeness, or however you want to put it. I'm trying to be as positive as I can, and I'm trying to be just a good teammate, I guess, a good person, so that we can try to figure this stuff out together and actually make it to playoffs and Worlds, which is what we're playing for in the end anyways.
I think a super respectable attitude to have in the scheme of things, of course, is an update. Kia player of the game is none other than Selfmade, a pretty solid Kha'Zix performance. As a final question, just at what point did you know that you had won that game? Because for a while there, it was pretty dicey. Just to keep it back onto today's games, like talk to me about playing that game, about sitting in the seat, dealing with the Baron steal, dealing with what was a very up and down game. Was this a game you expected to win, or was this a game where you were very surprised when it turned around back in your favor after that Baron steal?
I would say I was pretty surprised we managed to win this game, but at the same time, after yesterday, I was kind of ready for anything that was thrown my way. So when I fell behind early, I wasn't too worried. I figured at some point I'll probably get a couple of kills or two, and that basically happened in the mid lane later on in the game where I got 2 kills, and I figured from that point I can carry the game on my own already. So it was just nice to see that my teammates could kind of like hold the fort up until that point, because I wasn't doing so well. So it was nice to see that they could like step in a little bit for me.
Yeah, and as mentioned, good to have a 2-0 week for all the Fnatic fans out there. Of course, thanks again for taking the time to talk to me, Rekkles. That's going to do it for us here. Next up, Mad Lions versus G2 in our match of the week. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break.